Welcome to ISKCON of Silicon Valley. Thank you very, very much for coming. Here we are engaged in bhakti yoga, which is a true yoga in that it's true to the word yoga, which means to connect with the Supreme. It comes from the root word yuj. Yuj means connect. It's cognate in English with yoke. When you connect two things together, they're yoked. And we're parts of the Supreme. We're persons. The Supreme is called the Supreme Personality. And when by consciousness we're connected to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose name in the Srimad Bhāgavatam is Krishna, which means the all-attractive, then we're in a state of yoga. And bhakti, what's emphasized is love. Self-realization means to love Krishna. And that's not artificial because we naturally have love within our hearts. It's inherent. And when we practice activities in relationship with Krishna, of course, everything has a relationship with Krishna because he's the source of everything. The Brahma Sutra, which is a summary of the most important parts of the ancient Vedic literatures, says tato brahma jigna. It says janmadhyasya yataha. The Supreme is that from whom everything else emanates. And so everything has a relationship with the Supreme Whole, or the Supreme Person from whom all energies emanate. And we're one of those energies. We're a special energy, which is called para. Para means superior. What are we superior to? We're superior to the lower energies, which are called prakriti. We're called para prakriti. Prakriti means inert elements, earth and water and fire, etc. Whereas we are categorically different from those kinds of energies. We are conscious. And we experience different stages of consciousness according to our refinement. The highest, most refined state of consciousness is called Krishna consciousness, conscious of our relationship with Krishna, and that is brought about most readily by love. Other states of consciousness are marked by what the Vedic scriptures called maya, or illusion. We can misidentify ourselves as lower energy. For instance, we're in a body, but we're not our body. But when we identify as a body, then we naturally feel what is called jada buddhi, or stone-like consciousness. If you live in a stone house and you're attached to the house as being you, as the main aspect of your life that you identify with, then your consciousness will become stone-like. And the material world itself is stone-like. In fact, sometimes people talk about living on the stone, and it's a euphemism for the earth. One of my friends once wrote me a letter many years ago, and he asked me how things were going on the other side of the stone. He happened to be in London at the time. And the stone-like world, which is constituted of these prakriti, lower energies, is something we may identify with. Our bodies are stone-like as well. For instance, the bones within the body feel stone-like. And all the elements in and of themselves are illuminated and animated because of our presence, and because of the presence of what's called this Supreme Consciousness. And there's a distinction made in the Bhagavad Gita, for instance, between our consciousness and the consciousness of the Supreme Conscious Person. So although we're parts of the Supreme Person, our consciousness in quantity is not equal. I'm conscious, and barely so, of what's going on in my body, whereas the supreme conscious entity, Krishna, is conscious of what's going on in everyone's body at the same time. Also, what's going on within the minds of every living being, if you can imagine such a thing. Being aware of the movements of all the squirrels in the world, in and of itself would be a challenge. But when we redirect our consciousness through the practice of bhakti, we can become conscious of Krishna, and that's what's sometimes called the shortcut in yoga, is go directly to the source. And one of the ways that can be achieved directly, which is the recommendation given by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, which is, by the way, the authoritative text followed by the main practitioners of bhakti since time immemorial, for millennia, the principles and tenets of the Bhagavad Gita, that is, have been commentated upon by great teachers. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that you can experience supreme consciousness or connection with Krishna directly. And then he goes about describing how that might be done. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yoginam api sarvesham madgatanentaratmana shadavan bhajate yomam sa me yukta tamo mataha. And that is when you have shraddha, which means that you've given your heart to something, because shrad means the heart, and da is an active verb. It means where you place something. So where are you placing your heart? By the way, where are you all placing your hearts? If someone were to interview you with a clipboard outside of Whole Foods and ask you, where are you placing your heart these days? Would you have a ready answer? You might. You might be absorbed in something or another. Has anybody recently been absorbed in one thing or another? Everyone said yes? Yes. Otherwise, you were just scrolling, which is another state of consciousness, unique to the modern age and predicted by the Bhāgavatam, prayena palishashabhya. Interesting in the Bhagavad Gita as well is that we're compelled by our own consciousness. The mind, specifically, is an instrument to think of Krishna. But when we misuse our minds and engage them in thinking of things apparently separate from Krishna, then they get muddled. And if you've ever used an instrument in your home, maybe a kitchen tool, for the wrong reasons, has anybody ever used a tool for the wrong thing? You're just too lazy to go get the right thing, so you used the wrong thing. Yeah. So the mind is really meant for thinking of Krishna. Dhyana vastita tad gatena manasat tad pashyanti yam yogina. The yogis know the purpose of the mind. It's to think of dhyana vastita tad gatena manasa pashyanti yam yogina. It's meant to see Krishna within the heart, to meditate on Krishna. In fact, that's the natural happy state of a human being. A lot of people don't know what the human body was made for, so they misuse it. I'm trying to think of a ludicrous example of using some kitchen tool for the wrong reason. I mean, what could you misuse a Cuisinart for errantly? Maybe you were trying to mix some cement or something. He put gasoline in the kitchen utensils. All right, come out with it, everybody. Let's hear what you've done. Using salad tongs to mix sugar in the liquid. Okay, that's not permanently damaging though. I need something a little... Now it's all coming out. Okay. So the human body is a specific instrument. It's highly tuned and tunable. However, when I use it for an inferior cause, it is profaned in one sense, and it can be also temporarily damaged. And so the Bhāgavatam gives us directives saying it's really rare to get a human form of life. Therefore, use it properly. So what's it for? What can the human body do? A lot. One thing it can do that squirrels can't is pray. Squirrels don't pray. I'm going to get a bumper sticker. Because they don't have the capacity to understand causality. Their tiny little hearts are attached. They get attached to nuts and trees and to their offspring and so forth, but they cannot come to an appreciation of the principles of Bhagavad Gita. For instance, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupayanti te. For a human who's suffering in the world, who feels that the world is abrasive, coming to a verse like this, which I'll translate, where Krishna says that when you've had enough here in this world of being abused or abusing yourself, and you feel out of balance or you feel consternation for the state of the world or your life, and you have a flash of inspiration that you'd like to become a good citizen of the world. Even more than that, you'd like to know who God is and how to reconnect. That's a natural instinct within the heart of a human being. Of course, it could be in an animal too, but very rare circumstances. Then Krishna responds within the heart and gives intelligence so that we can refine ourselves. For instance, if we studied a little bit about the practice of bhakti yoga, and we could understand that there are ways that we can conduct ourselves every day, even a little bit, through which we'll be in resonance with Krishna, then Krishna might, after we read something about that or hear something about that, it might give us intelligence how we could organize our life to do it. Our lives are busy, no doubt, but then we might think, well, I might be able to accommodate such a practice. What's more, I'm feeling willing to do it, which is important, and therefore I will take some time in the morning to chant Hare Kṛṣṇa, chant the names of God, and listen with reverence, with a sense of shraddha or faith. Krishna might give that intelligence, and then if we're inspired by getting that intelligence, we might even try it. And we might do it for a little while, and then we'll find that we've drifted away from it and got distracted by one of life's multiple distractions. But he'll give us intelligence how to start again. And in this way, in a fledgling way, we may start our spiritual practice and begin to experience this direct connection with Krishna. Even one who tries sincerely in a very simple way will experience that Krishna is pleased and he gives more impetus to do more. And that impetus for somebody who's practicing spiritual life is greatly inspiring, because it's the natural state of the soul to want to serve Krishna. And once we're serving Krishna and we're getting intelligence how to serve, and we realize that it is unique to us that we can serve, and that we can serve in any circumstance, and that our sense of satisfaction isn't dependent on any external circumstance, then we feel that our life has great purpose and meaning. In those times, we can also more readily accommodate the complexities of life. For instance, going to school, there are some complexities because you have to find a number 2 pencil somewhere. Or is that obsolete now? Really? That's too bad. That was one of the best parts of school, the number 2 pencil. But there may be others. You have to figure out which class to take. You still have to do that, right? And what's more, you have to keep up. And in any given profession, or just as an adolescent, one has to keep up. You have to figure out what everybody else is wearing before you wear something that's out of style. Right? Say yes. Or any number of other ways, psychologically, sociologically, that we have to interact with the world. It's often we're faced with one conundrum after another. But when we apply ourselves to bhakti yoga, we'll feel a direct sense of satisfaction, because it's not dependent on the arrangements we make to adjust ourselves sociologically or psychologically in the world. So in the Bhagavad Gita, I'll bring up a couple verses here. This particular version of Bhagavad Gita is called Bhagavad Gita as it is. Sometimes people comment on the Bhagavad Gita and they'll invent their own commentaries, whereas in the tradition of bhakti, a teacher would take the knowledge passed down by previous teachers, just as you might in a science class. You don't invent some new idea, but you take what the great thinkers have put forward, the theories, and then you explore those. In this translation and commentary, the founder of this movement, Srila Prabhupada, has given very direct consideration to the meaning. And so I'm going to read a verse from the 13th chapter, 34th verse. And here Krishna says, when he's speaking to his student Arjuna, "As the sun alone illuminates all this universe, so does the living entity, one within the body, illuminate the entire body by consciousness." So the soul is situated within the heart region. The blood goes through the heart region and is energized. It goes out to all the different parts of the body. What's more, the Supreme Spirit, or what we call the super soul, Paramatma, is also situated there within the heart, along with the individual living being. So when we talk about things being heartfelt and so forth, the heart, even physically, has, as has been discovered recently, as many neurons, which are brain cells, brain-like cells, brain cell-like entities. They're within the heart. We actually do feel with our heart, but we're actually present within the heart. And as the Padma Purana describes, it's just like a tree with 2 birds in it. There's the bird that's trying to eat the fruits on the trees and is eating the fruits on the trees and of the tree, of the body. And then there's the witnessing bird who's there along with the individual bird. And in this verse, we can also ascertain that when we, for instance, feel something in one of the appendages of our body, That's because consciousness pervades the body. If your foot falls asleep, first of all, it could be up all night later, but that's all right. It's an old joke. But you can notice that when you cut off the blood circulation, you can't even feel your foot. So here, he's giving this metaphor. In the universe, the sun pervades the universe, and therefore we have illumination. So similarly, this body, the metaphor is a universe unto itself. And we feel consciousness throughout the body, just the way sunshine is spread everywhere. And then we look at the next verse, 35, Krishna says, those who see with eyes of knowledge the difference between the body and the knower of the body, that's you, and can also understand the process of liberation from bondage and material nature, can attain the supreme goal. So knowledge means to understand the difference, according to Krishna's definition, the difference between yourself and your body. He says it earlier in this chapter, Kshetragnang chapimam vidhi sarvashetrishu bharata kshetragnayur jnanam yatach jnanam matam mama. He says, this is my definition of knowledge. It's to understand that you're the knower of the field. Isn't that interesting? The body he calls a field. It's a field of activity. To understand the knower of to be the knower of the field of activity. And understand the difference between the field and yourself. That's called knowledge. So, coming to an important point. This relates to the way we conduct ourselves in our lives. And that is something I wrote down, so I'm going to look at it. When you feed and try to satisfy what you're not, you'll never taste happiness. So it's important to know what you're not. You're not your body. Of course, you have to feed your body because it's a machine. It needs to be taken care of properly. But if you give all your attention to your bodily existence, you won't feel satisfaction because that's not who you are. But if you feed the soul, then you'll feel satisfaction directly and right away. And an example that Srila Prabhupada used to give, he's the founder of this organization and did the commentary for Bhagavad Gita as it is. Once a person received a gift, actually it was an inheritance of a golden cage with a bird in it. And it was the rarest of birds, but the person who received the gift was more enamored of the cage. And every day, not knowing what was what, came and dusted the cage and made sure that it looked pristine. Meanwhile, inside, there was the bird. And maybe you see a developing issue here. But the bird was saying, hungry, hungry, hungry. Meanwhile, he came out with a duster every day and tried to make the cage look nice. And the bird got weaker and weaker, and then, sadly, and I know this is a family show, so I don't mean to alarm anybody, but the little bird died. And in a similar way, the ancient wisdom literatures like the Sri Upanishad says, Asurya nama te loka andena tamasavrita tamste pratyabhigashanti yeke chatma hanojanaha. That if you forget your purpose in life and you become asura, which means that you forget where light comes from, you forget what your existence really is about, and who the source of all consciousness is, Krishna, and you live your life absorbed in that which is not Krishna, then you'll feel yourself becoming weaker and weaker, just like that bird in the cage who didn't get nourishment. And then you might reach a stage where you become atmaha, where you feel as if you're dead to your real self. You've completely forgotten it. So what's the solution? All this negativity, Vaisesika Dasa. There's a direct solution, which is to revive one's soul. And the method mentioned, especially by the Srimad Bhāgavatam, is to sing the names of God. So you can repeat the names of God at any time and you'll feel yourself revived. I guarantee this because the Shastra guarantees it. And I also have experienced that whenever I feel myself overwhelmed by circumstances. When's the last time you felt overwhelmed by circumstances? Right now? Did anybody else feel overwhelmed by circumstances recently? Okay, just 2-3 people. We should get together. Those of you who raise your hands. I need a little bit of solace from those who also feel overwhelmed. It happens not just periodically, but pretty much constantly. There's an onslaught that comes through the mind, the body, sense of responsibility, trying to keep up with the status quo that I should be like this, my body should be like this, my bank account should be like this, my kids should be like this, my parents should be like this. Whatever we try to maintain in this world feels onerous because it's not maintainable by us, although we do our best. However, there is a different feeling when one repeats the names of God because there's a direct communion with God through His name. And when we get that direct communion, we feel whole. There are several adjectives we could mention for the feeling of being, that experience of feeling whole. One of them is enough. Look it up. Where does it come from? How come it's spelled with a GH at the end? That's what I want to know. Enough. You may have been in a transactional stage. Has anybody been in a transactional stage and you felt like it's not enough? 1, 2, 3 people? 4 people? Like when you got paid last time, did you say, that's enough? Yeah, or at the Sunday program where there's a huge long line and they put it on your plate, did you say, okay, that's enough? Yeah? Well, it's hard to find that permanent state of feeling that I have enough, but when one repeats the names of God and has communion directly with God, because God's the source of everything. Aham sarvasya prabhavo, matak sarvam pravartate, iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. When one understands that not only is everything the source of God, I'm part of that everything. He's the source of me. And He's complete. Om Purnamada Purnamidam, complete, the complete whole, and I'm part of that complete whole. And Prabhupada writes in his commentary to the invocation of Sri Shapanishad that all forms of incompleteness are experienced due to incomplete knowledge of the complete whole. And another aspect of repeating the name of God is that God's personally present within the name, and therefore we experience His direct contact and His qualities as well as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, He's full, and everything comes from Him. Everything that we ever have received has come from Him. Everything that we have right now, for instance, this body, which is being maintained even as we sit here and the heart's beating without our having to manually instruct it or manually direct it to beat. It goes on. So with all systems in this world. And when we come in contact with Krishna, we'll feel a sense of overwhelming abundance. That I don't need anything else and everything's already being supplied. So that's a good thing, right? Say yes. Yes. Say yes a little harder. Yes. All right. So chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa it inspires us. It also, when we feel overwhelmed, that's what I was getting to, and we try to fix the problem, maybe for a moment, like when you put fuel in a fire, it maybe goes down a little bit and it comes right back. But when we chant Hare Kṛṣṇa, we rise above that sense of that burning sensation where I don't have enough or I'm being pushed harder and harder. We can actually come to a higher perspective. That's described in Srimad Bhāgavatam. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayat Yashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayara Ahaituky. That is, when you chant Hare Kṛṣṇa, you'll experience yourself as different from your body, and you'll feel detached from the world, like all the problems that were troubling you, maybe not all, but you'll get a sense that they're lessening and I can handle them because I know that I'm not the supreme controller. And vairagya, I'm not overwhelmed by this driving force that's here in this world everywhere. Everyone has it, especially squirrels. And, you know, they have to climb a tree. They can't help it. So when we get this contact with Krishna through his name, that vairagya, there's a sense of vairagya, which means I don't feel compelled to do the things my senses tell me to do. Senses have a sense of entitlement. Did you know that? Yes. They think everything belongs to them. Your eyes look out there and go like, I should own that. Why does that guy own that? Or there's a cake sitting on the table and the tongue says that, that's mine. I should eat that whole thing. And in a way, we're constantly under pressure from the senses, from worry, what might happen, that's fear. But that's due to investing in what we're not. Again, when you feed and try to satisfy what you're not, you'll never taste happiness. So if someone says, I'm not happy, it's like, there's a reason for that. You're not feeding the soul. So you just have to feed the soul. And that's what generically spiritual life means. Forget all the external trappings, whatever kind of brick and mortar thing people put up, or a little symbol or this or that. It's immaterial. The fact is that everybody's a soul. And every soul needs connection with God, Krishna. Are there ways to do that? Absolutely. That's what human body is meant for. Human body has a capacity for direct connection with God and realization with it, of that connection. And humans can reform themselves or be reformed by other high-minded people, hopefully high-minded. And when we get that reformation, we feel satisfaction. And when it's spiritual reformation and we adopt habits, practices that keep us in contact with Krishna regularly and constantly, or I said constantly, then we'll feel satisfaction in life for feeding the soul. It's that simple. So spiritual life is simple. The application is also simple. So the process of Krishna consciousness as taught by Krishna's most recent incarnation. Now this is fascinating because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. He wants us to have the advantage of connecting with him. So now we're in a state of disconnection. So he wants to help us connect. So he comes in various ways to the material world and gives teachings like the Bhagavad Gita. You can connect through your intelligence through the Bhagavad Gita. There are also tactile ways that you can connect with Krishna. For instance, by drinking water. When you drink water, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, you can remember that water is a unique substance. Don't take it for granted. He says, the taste of water, that's me. And the satisfaction that you get from drinking water, slaking thirst, he said, that's also me. And so, through using our senses to stay in contact with Krishna intellectually, tactily. You can eat food that's first offered to Krishna, and it's a different experience than just eating, walking through an airport, phone in one hand, something in the other hand. There's a conscious way to eat where you're remembering Krishna and you're experiencing Krishna directly. You can come to see Krishna in the temples also. If you're in India, you could, I've done this before in my youth, spend 3 months just going to temples constantly for 3 months, nothing else. And I realized that I didn't even scratch the surface of the experience. I could have gone for 3 years, 30 years, 300 years, and I would have never come to the end of the temples, even in one city, practically, to see Krishna. So it's not that Krishna's not available, but he's most available through his name. And this is the doctrine of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who came to give a process for everybody in the world so that they could stay connected. What's more, they could also create an environment in the world where people would naturally remember God, even when they were trying to avoid him. Now, if you can decipher that sign up there, we'll give you 1,559 on your SAT. This is an SAT problem. Can you figure it out? Okay, anybody who's moving forward gets nearly perfect score on their SAT. And therefore, the most recent avatara, which means the form of the Lord that descends to the world to give us recourse from our involvement in the dull material world. That the most direct way to contact Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is by repeating his names. Along with that, there's singing his names. Singing is a way of expressing ourselves. One of the expressions of singing is joy. If you've ever felt joyful, anybody? When's the last time? Sadhusanga. Yeah, I felt joyful. If you felt joyful for some reason or another, you might want to sing. I've experienced it when I felt great relief. I didn't even know I was singing. I would just be singing, and you're like, oh, how come I'd notice that I'm singing for some reason. For instance, if I had a problem to solve, and it was oppressing me, and then I solve the problem, then suddenly I feel, I feel suddenly that I'm a little joyful. That's from relief, feeling relief from pressure. That's an expression of singing. And then there's a kind of singing where we feel love, or let's start with gratitude. We feel such gratitude for someone. Maybe we want to sing their glories. We might even write a song about something or somebody because we feel such gratitude. But to speak of love, I mean, ostensibly all songs are about love or lost love. All movies, all plays, it's Romeo and Juliet all over again. Same story, just told in different contexts. So there's a sense that people want to sing their emotions. And in the spiritual world, the such singing is prevalent. That's where we get the idea from. We get all ideas from. This world's a reflection of the spiritual world. So this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, singing together in community. And that's exactly why we got this place. We picked this place because it has this room. We envisioned that one day we would all sit together here in this room like we are right now, and we'd sing the names of Krishna. And we can have this unified experience of joy that we're singing the names of God together. It's literally why we got this building and have maintained it for many years. 14 years, something like that, 13. And anyone can do this, can sing, but it's really nice in a big group. Of course, probably a lot of you were at Sadhusanga. There were 4,000 people there. And there were times during that singing and dancing that it was so compelling that you couldn't help but dance and sing when everyone else was doing. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught that try to get into that group where you can sing and hear the names of Krishna, because very quickly you can advance in devotional service. So just to summarize, we're not our bodies, we're spiritual beings. You have to feed the soul. If you're feeding something other than the soul, that's what's causing the anxiety. It's a simple equation, not a difficult algorithm to change. Change where you're giving your nurture. Don't nurture just the body. Just nurture the body enough so that the soul can be properly situated in the body so that you can feed the soul as much as possible. And if you don't feel satisfied, feed your soul more. If you don't feel satisfied, then that was 13% participation. If you don't feel satisfied, then yeah, just remember that, because it's what the Bhāgavatam says. All the brightest people in the world got together at Naimiṣāraṇya to discern what is the purpose of life. And they came out with this admonition, savai puṁsāṁ paro dharmo, yato bhaktir adhokṣaje, ahaituky apratihatā, yayātmā suprasīdati. That means that if you want to be blissful, if you want to be actually happy, then find out how to be more engaged in feeding your soul by being connected in Krishna consciousness through what we call bhakti yoga, doing the activities that connect you directly to Krishna. That's always the answer, and there is no other. All the anxieties of the world cannot be fixed, or I should say, any of the anxieties of the world cannot be fixed by making more money. It doesn't work. You can't fix the problem. You can temporarily fix it with self-help. And we may need some organization in our life. We may need some physical therapy. If you have a pinched nerve, you got to take care of it. You may need some psychological therapy. If your mind's so disturbed, you have to get to a place where at least you can chant Hare Kṛṣṇa without your mind being in a stage of rage or whatever it may be in. But the ultimate solution, says the Bhāgavatam, is to find out how to integrate this spiritual process, especially chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa, into your life by increments more and more. And as we get older, we should do more, not less. So as we get older, we should try not to take on more and more material burden, because it won't help us ultimately. At the time of death, especially, the kinds of ways that we got by in this world will not be effective at the time of death. In fact, I have a god sister whom I serendipitously met in Vrindavan when I had taken my parents' ashes. I had both of them, my mother and my father, 2 boxes. And I brought them to the Holy Dham in Vrindavan to put their ashes, by their permission, in the Jamuna. And I met my god sister there, who was also bringing her mother's ashes. And we had some nice discussion. We even shared a boat and did all 3 at the same time. And she told me the story, how she had been from a very tight-knit family, but when she was a youth, she had joined the Hare Kṛṣṇa movement to dedicate her life to bhakti yoga, and she had made her family feel uncomfortable because of that dedication. That's kind of a euphemism because actually one of her brothers disowned her and said, I never want to see you again, talk to you again, because you basically left us all, let's speak of our parents. And when later in life, her, my god sister's mother, became ill with cancer and had only a finite amount of time to live. Of course, we all do. But it was known that it was going to be a short term, and they say, the nurses say, don't buy the large tube of toothpaste. That's how they tell you that you're not going to live. Did you know that? Okay. If anybody ever says that to you, then now you know. Don't get economy size. You might need travel size. It's all right to laugh at the face of death, as long as you're chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa. And so she went back and spent exclusive time with her mother in the last 3 months of her life. And the brother who had been so angry with her for taking to Krishna consciousness came and made amends. He initiated it after their mother passed. And he said to her, now I understand that you were the only one qualified in the family to take care of our mother at the time of death. What does that mean? Well, Krishna explains it in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita when he says that those who have studied the science of the soul can see what's happening at the time of death. They can see it. And they know what to do because they know what's happening. And those who haven't studied it or lived their life in such a way that they can understand it, they don't know what's happening. It's just bewildering. And therefore, our lives are meant for a progressive understanding of the fact that we're not our body, we're the soul. And also, we're meant to invest incrementally more and more in the soul. So here's one of the best ways to do it. It's by chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa. And after that long preamble introduction, let's try. Shall we? Yes. Is everyone okay? Yes. Better than okay, right? Yes. Srivas, yeah? Little okay, big okay. So there's different metaphors by which we can frame, with which we can frame our lives. So it's a good idea to ask what kind of metaphor you're using to frame your life. Let me give you a few suggestions. Battle. Okay. Journey. If you resonate, then, I don't know, give me a sign like this. Journey. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Race. A race. Huh? Roller coaster. Mountain climbing. All of the above. Prison. Classroom. Many metaphors that we can choose for ourselves. And all of them can be connected to Krishna consciousness. In the Bhagavad Gita, of course, the very context itself is a battle. And what better place for Krishna to speak the wisdom of equanimity in the most trying of environments, which is a battle where you may not come out alive. And the clamor of the environment, clamorous environment, the fearsome warriors on either side, peril facing us at every second. And life can be like that too. It can seem as if we're fighting to survive. And a journey. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Narupamasyeha tatopalabhyate nanto nachadir natasampratishta ashvatamenam suvaruramulam asangashastrena dritena chitva tatakparam parimagitavyam yasmin gatana nivartanti bhuya tameva chadyam purusham prapadye yatak praviti prashita purani. And that is that for those who are lost in this world, entangled, gives this sense of entanglement that we're in a huge banyan tree and we're not even sure how we got there. And we don't know which part of it we're in. This banyan tree itself is slightly confusing because the roots are upwards, branches down, can't tell where it begins or ends. And Krishna says, come to a resolution based on the knowledge that we get from the Upanishads, from the Gita Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, that this is not your home. This is called tapa. When you say, this can't be right. This whole bill of goods we're being sold, that this is a happy life, all you need is a little more makeup, or a better looking car, or something like that. They're all made out of tin and they all break just as quickly. And when we come to this point of wanting to know what's the real purpose of life, and Krishna says, asanga shastrena dridhena chitva, become determined to dedicate your life to a higher cause. Cut down the tree, he literally says. Cut down the tree of this material existence. It's in your power because all you have to do is come to clarity that life is a journey and it's leading us somewhere very important. And that's tatakpadam tat parimargitavyam yasmin gata na nirvatanti bhuya tameva chadyam purusham prapadye. Purusham means we're on a journey to meet, as you would meet another person after a long journey, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Bhāgavatam, we find that Brahma, although in the Bhāgavatam we notice that Brahma goes to the shore of the milk ocean. There is a milk ocean in this universe. And he goes there to propitiate the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He can't see him directly, but he offers prayers along with the demigods. You know which prayers he offers? Purush Sukta. And then Krishna responds non-verbally in his heart and gives him the message to give to the demigods. That's before his appearance in this world. But there are times, or there is a time in the Bhagavatam, there are times that Krishna reveals himself directly to Brahma. For instance, do you know the book, the Brahma Samhita, anybody? Yes. It starts, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sakchit Ananda Vigraha Anadi Radhir Govinda Karana Karanam Sahasrapatta Kamalam Gokulakyam Mahatpadam Tatkarni Karanam, etc. So that long prayers, Govindamadi Purusham Tapaham Bhajami, is a time when Krishna revealed himself to Brahma. And also, you'll find in the second canto of the Bhagavatam, Krishna comes and speaks to Brahma directly. But you could say that's the best part. But the sweetest part is at the end when he shakes his hand and he says, good luck, Brahma. Or maybe like this, I don't know. But he definitely shakes his hand. So this is the import of the Bhagavad Gita. Tatakpadam tat parimargitavyam. Parimargita means to make this complete journey. So life's a journey. Your life's a journey, right? Say yes. Somebody said yes. So we're on a journey, but where are we going? To meet the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He'll shake your hand. Congratulations. You dedicated your life to me. You followed the simple process given by the acharyas, acharya upasanam. And now welcome welcome to your eternal home, the spiritual world. He'll welcome every single one of us as we have a personal relationship with him. That's what Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, just come home, cut down this tree, it's a lost cause. If you have a television, first unplug it, then cut the cord. You can use garden shears, it works. And put your attention to Krishna consciousness. Chant your japa. Do your vows. Make vows while you have the chance. And execute them with determination. This is how you cut down the tree, deeply rooted tree of the material world. And then make your journey. Life is a journey. You can go back and meet Krishna. Then you have a race. Of course, you don't want to be in the rat race. But how could you relate a race for Krishna? It's a race against time. In the Bhāgavatam, Shukadeva Goswami says, Ayur harati vai puṁsāṁ, that every time the sun rises and sets, it's talking to us as we're driving on the 101 freeway. And what's it saying? You're wasting your life. But then he says, at the end, if you're hearing and chanting about Krishna every day, then you're not affected by the diminishing aspect of the sun, which is taking away our life, our so-called life in this world that we think will go on forever, but we'll be very surprised when it comes to an end, saying, already? So Bhāgavatam says, race against time. Prabhupada once said that a transcendentalist means somebody who feels, I could leave this world at any moment. And a materialist thinks, I'll live forever. So you can look and see what attitude you have. And are you in this race to beat the clock? Put a countdown timer. Get a countdown timer that counts down from the time that your actuary chart says you're going to leave the world. So if it says you're going to live till you're going to be 81, and then figure out how old you are now, shouldn't be so hard, and then set the countdown timer back, it counts down from there. That ought to get things moving, right? Yes. Roller coaster. Okay, Vijay, let's see you deal with this one. So the roller coaster. Life has its ups and downs. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives plentiful advice about learning to see whatever's up and whatever's down to be basically the same thing in this world. They're just the fluctuations that occur because of the nature of this world. And he says we shouldn't be disturbed by them. And when we get a windfall and things are up, or when we unexpectedly lose something, the agent of our karma comes along and does something fancy, and next thing you know, you don't have as much as you thought you did. Or governments can change suddenly, the weather can change, suddenly your health can change, for better or worse. All these things Krishna says are matra sparshas tukanteya shitoshna sukadukada agama payino nityas tamsta tikshashva bharata. He gives this admonition throughout the Bhagavad Gita, learn to tolerate. Don't be overwhelmed by the ups and downs because they're inevitable in this world. And if you can simply learn how to tolerate the ups and downs of the world and not be affected by them. He says, don't be affected whether you win or lose. Do your duty. In fact, he says you have a right to do your duty, but you don't have a right to the fruit of the activity. And if you live like this, and your intention is, everything is out of my duty to Krishna. And everything I'm doing, even higher idea, is an offering to Krishna. Then when we have that, then Krishna says you won't be touched by the world. You won't feel the effects of the roller coaster, the ups and downs. If it's up, okay, same as if it's down, because I'm only dutiful for Krishna, and I'm not doing it for myself, so I don't feel personal loss, personal gain. When we have a vested interest in the world, that's when we feel it. That attachment to the way I think it should be, that's the way I suffer. Roller coaster. How about mountain climbing? struggle, verse, or what did you say? Anarta nivritti. Does everybody know what that means? Okay, in the practice of devotional service, there's an awakening in our heart that it's the right thing to do. That's called shraddha. I mentioned it earlier. Remember that? It's going to be on the quiz, so I hope you do. So I have this sense, oh, what these devotees are doing, that's a good idea. I really like it. Maybe I'll try to help them. Or maybe I should do it too. And then you think, well, maybe I'll spend more time with those who are dedicated to devotional service. Did you ever think that? Like this morning, before you decided to come here? So then, that's called sadhu sangha. Means you take association with those who are engaged in sadhana, in a practice. Because a sadhu is somebody who's doing sadhana. And they're called a sadhaka. And the goal of their practice is called the sadhya. And then you start doing it too. And once you start doing it, you realize how far you have to go. Did you ever want to play the piano? Anybody want to play the piano? Please admit it now. Well, you already know how to play the piano. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's it? Well, what instrument did you want to play? Huh? Violin? Name your instrument you wanted to play. Flugelhorn. Guitar. Harmonium. Veena. Tabla. Okay. So many instruments. Mridanga. Okay, so thinking about playing mridanga or harmonium or the veena or tabla is a lot easier than actually playing it. Just like thinking about writing a book is a lot easier than actually sitting down and writing it. I've experienced that several times. So there's a way in which when we come to the practice of devotional service, and we still have a lot of momentum from our life and other things that we have to do, what to speak of, at some point we may feel bored with it, we may lose faith in it, we may think that there's somewhere else I'd rather be, and so forth. This is called anarta nivritti. Krishna Saka brought it up. It's like mountain climbing in a sense. Because we're trying, we know what the right thing is, but it's really hard to do because we're not used to it yet. And there's so many other distractions. Anarta nivritti. Things that aren't according to our ideal in life. They're still there in our heart, and we still think that we may be better off with them. And it takes some time to nivritti for those to diminish. So we have to practice, and it can feel like mountain climbing. But when we get to the top of the mountain, then we have a place to stand, and that's called nishta. In fact, it's the word stand and nishta is the same word. Shta and stand are same word, cognate in English. So after we come there, we actually have a place in this practice of devotional service that we call ours, that I'm steadily situated. And then comes ruchi. And that's like you came to the top, and now there's a little hill on the other side. And now if you took a big rock, you could roll down the hill, or you could even roll down the hill. Because then things start going in your direction. And that's when, as Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, the nectar flows. And you feel happy to be doing devotional service. There's nowhere else you'd rather be. And that's the position that one can reach by climbing the mountain called the anarta nivritti. So who wants to climb the mountain? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You need climbing instructor, you need ropes and carabiners. Any mountain climbers in here? Or all engineers? Okay. Prison, that's the next one. Well, yeah, prison. Who said material world? Material world's a prison? Yeah. What is it? What are the qualities of a prison? You can't get out, huh? Lack of freedom. Your freedom is curtailed in a prison. Don't you hate that? Yes? You can't come out. Yeah. You can't come out. I once went into a prison in Arizona not so long ago, but I was on a mission. There was a devotee in there who wanted to get initiated, so I had to go inside the prison. And when I went in and they closed the door, I felt it like, remember, I'm not like in here. I'm not in here, I'm just in here. I'm like, It's palpable because the soul wants freedom, wants to be able to go anywhere, do anything, and be free. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Raga dvesha vimuktaistu vishayan indriyaishcharan atmavashera vidheyatma prasadam adhikṣate. Counterintuitive. Are you ready for something counterintuitive? Yes. You're up for it too, because you like to have something challenge your mind, right? Counterintuitive. Follow the regulative principles of freedom. Someone would say, wait, what? Regulative principles? That sounds like some kind of restriction in a prison. Like they say, you got to get up at 5 o'clock, no exceptions. You got to eat at 8:30 in the morning. You're going to work until 6 o'clock at night. And then, of course, if you're in the prison in Jagannath Puri, they make you sing bhajans. Did you know that? They come out and say, bhajans, 2 hours, sing. That's not so bad. So there's a regulation. That sounds like prison itself. But Krishna says, if you're following the regulative principles of devotional service, they lead to freedom. So once you practice devotional service, then as Rupa Goswami says, Vacho Vegam, Manasa Kroda Vegam, Jiha Vegam, Udarapasta Vegam, Etan Vegam, Yovishahete Dira. You actually become the master of the world, because the real master of this world are the senses. They're telling everybody what to do. And when you master your senses, then you become the master of the world, because you've mastered what nobody else can master. Nobody even thinks of it. They just accept that that's their plight in life. So we can take it that Krishna has put us in this prison-like situation. We're on probation, as it were, and if we follow the practice of devotional service by regulating our senses. In fact, shall I tell you a prison story? Yes. Or are you getting tired of my antics? No. Okay. Of course, I'm not convinced, but I'll try it anyway. When I went in that prison, and I met the devotee who's there for life. His name's Balavan Nitai. That's the name I gave him. He wears orange. He had a shaved head. And he looked really happy. I said, what's up? You know, you're in jail for life, right? He goes, yeah. And a lot of people ask me that. He said, I'm glad they do. Because when they ask me, you're in for life, why are you so happy? He said, well, here, check this out. And he gives them a Bhagavad Gita. He told me that, or it was my own realization in interviewing him, that he's forced to get up every morning at a certain time, go to bed at a certain time. There's no scrolling. There's just books to read, some chanting to do, take a little something. And why wouldn't he be happy? Sometimes people, they think they have a big house, they have money, but where's the freedom? They're locked into a screen somewhere, or they're locked into a false sense of themselves, that I'm this body, and therefore they're always tortured, that I don't look good enough. I'm not smart enough. And what to speak of the impending doom that the soul feels in this world, because we know at any time we could lose everything. So the regulative principles of freedom, if we remember this world is a prison, and if we follow the regulative principles of freedom, then even as we're in the prison, we'll be free. And we'll have that smile on our face that we're happy, we're free. Nothing can bind us in this world. And finally, the classroom. Everyone resonated with the classroom, right? Because as Lord Brahma says in the Srimad Bhāgavatam, take this world as a classroom, nothing else. Whatever happens to you, take it as a special lesson given to you by God to become a better version of yourself. And if you can do that, says Brahma, with everything that happens to you in your life, Hare Kṛṣṇa, everybody. I didn't know you were out there. Thank you for being in the auxiliary room. Then he says, you're qualified for going back to the kingdom of God. What's the qualification? Your attitude is, whatever happens to me is a special lesson just for me to become the best version of myself, which is to become a lover of God. It's teaching me something. And if I see the whole world like that, and I interact with every situation, or I react to every situation as, this is a special lesson just for me to become a better lover of God, then you, and you, and you, and you, and you, are qualified to go back to the spiritual kingdom. What do you think? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best idea I've ever heard, and 1 being you weren't interested at all. Let's see. Judges? It passes. The measure passes. So whatever way you consider your life, whether you think of your life as a battle, or a journey, or a race, or a roller coaster, mountain climb, or a prison term, or a classroom, Krishna consciousness will accommodate you in all those ways, and you can excel in your life in devotional service. So we highly recommend you chant Hare Kṛṣṇa. And as in the last couple of minutes, I'll just mention that getting your own home practice together is highly recommended. It means you can come to the temple once a week, but you'd like to do something every day, right? Say yes. So learn to chant Hare Kṛṣṇa in the form of japa. Find a place where you can sit peacefully and chant like this: Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. And when you get tired of sitting, you can stand up and you can pace, or you can go for a little walk and keep chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now, if you'd like to advance in that practice, then you can count how many times you chant, because that keeps you on pace. And there are a couple ways to count. You can use beads. How many of you here don't have, this isn't fair, I won't ask the question. How many of you have ever tried counting? Now, even that, I'm not going to harass anybody. Just say that you can count how many times you chant every day. You can get some beads. If you don't have them, see me afterwards. There's also, for interim times in the office, you can get one of these little clickers. See this? Click, click, click. It keeps the numbers. Sometimes when I'm getting on and off plane, I'll use this. I'll sit down, people are looking at my hand. It's like, you're not going to blow up the plane, are you? No. No. Sometimes they'll say, what are you counting? They say, what is that? And I say, it's a counter. They say, what are you counting? I say, I'm counting my blessings. And they go like, let me see it. And I was like, 514. What kind of life do you have? It's pretty good. So count how many times you chant. And there's a way you can be inspired to understand the philosophy that there's nothing else to be had when you chant Hare Kṛṣṇa. That's the perfection of life. You just have to realize it. Also, you can remember that one of Krishna's name is Vaisesika, which means that simply by remembering him, Krishna is, for those who simply remember him, he's inclined to shower all benedictions upon them. What do you think? Vaisesika. And a second point is to make a stand. At some point, you want to get serious. Who wants to get serious? I can ask that. That's a fair question. Make a little vow to yourself. Write it in your book or something and say, I'm going to, without fail, chant this many mantras every day. And you can measure it. Would you like to do that? Yes. Okay. And your pledge is your wedge. You start with what you can do, and then you apply a little time, pressure, tincture of time. It starts to open up a space for you in your spiritual life. This is how you break out of the material prison. And when you chant, feel helpless. Feel what? Helpless. And beg for Krishna. Beg to Krishna, please give me a little mercy. And then develop some consistency. Notice that you're becoming consistent in your life. And then practice. Practice means take it seriously. It's a discipline. So we recommend this. Singing Hare Kṛṣṇa. Start your own spiritual practice at home. If you have any questions about it, who's already chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa at home, regulated amounts? Anybody you see raising a hand, if you don't have a practice, you can talk to any one of those people and they'll tell you what they did to get started, okay? So now we're going to do the best part of our program, which is the Hare Kṛṣṇa dance party. It's spreading the world, all over the world. And for that, we're going to take all the seats, put them back in their special box over there. We're going to roll up this carpet, revealing the perfect dance floor, none other like it, in San Mateo, Santa Clara, Contra Costa counties. I can't name them all. Wherever it is, Alameda. There's no floor like this floor. This is a unique dance floor. So take advantage of it while you can, while you still have breath. Dance to your heart's content. Raise your hands like this. Like this. Move your feet and sway to the raga of the music and the tal. And be happy and chant Hare Kṛṣṇa and let all the troubles in your heart fly away like birds, okay? Thank you very much, everybody. You sound great. You look great. And you're doing all the right things. Let's take over the whole Silicon Valley with Hare Kṛṣṇa, okay? Yes. Say yes. No, really yes. Okay, we'll see you on the dance floor. Hare Kṛṣṇa.